Morning, Mary Lou. How are things?
Good morning, Peter. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. It's welcome on this yet another sunny morning in Northern Ireland. It's not often you get to say that in that one sentence, but it's true. Well, welcome to the Northern Ireland Business Podcast. Could you tell me a little about yourself, your business, and your background, please?
Yes, well, I'm an estate agent. We are Alexander Reid Fraser. We're chartered surveyors and estate agents. We're based in Downpatrick and Saintfield. We would do every aspect of the property sector from sales, lettings, commercial, new homes. We do a lot of valuation work, whether that's inheritance tax valuations or land compensation and boundary disputes. We also do estate management for a number of estates and letting portfolios too, and probably some buying as well.
And how did you get into this game, Mary Lou?
We are, well, I'm a third generation of it. So my father did it for me and my grandfather. So there was no escape, as some would say. But yeah, no, so I was it was quite funny. We were at a conference last week and this has happened before where it's quite cringeworthy and you have a couple of hundred estate agents in a room and there's someone asks the question, who wanted to be an estate agent when they were growing up, and me with my arm in the air, the only person in the room saying absolutely, which is I don't know, shameful or a good thing, I don't know, but it's definitely something I love.
And was it something that you genuinely worked towards? Could you see your grandfather, father, etc., and that was it? Blinkers on. That's
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did a lot of flying at school, so I wanted to either be a pilot or a state agent. And I think just by the way life worked, a state agent was definitely going to be the number one thing. But running into the office as a kid and watching how everything was done, and just really always did want to do it. I think it is in our bloods in some shape or form that we just are potentially made for it in a way. And yeah, I mean, it's just been something that my dad's passionate about it, and just you just watch him, and he's taught us everything that we've really learned over the years as well. I've been doing it for 24 years, so I am probably going to stay there forever.
what in terms of what's your catchment area? Where do you specialize around, like down Patrick Saintfield, or how far afield?
Well, now that we've just opened in Saintfield last year, so we have started to stretch out to Carryduff towards Comber direction, Lisburn, Ballynahinch, and around Saintfield. We are fairly comfortable in any of those directions, and then from Downpatrick we go right down the coast. Lovely villages like Strangford and Killock and Newcastle and Dundrum, just probably a 20-mile radius of both offices, really. So, I mean, everything's online. The portals catch you anywhere. You don't have to have an office based in a lot of places, but it's certainly good to sort of branch out, which we've started to build to do, which is exciting.
And I'm sure, as the family business over the years, I'm sure I mean, especially in Northern Ireland, have been through an awful lot. Now, what's the market like at the minute?
The market is very strong. I would say it's more strong because there's a hell of a lot of a demand over the stock levels. So the stock levels are showing that there's a lot of people sitting tight waiting to go on the market because they can't find anywhere to go. So you have ultimately a lot of buyers per property. We listed a house in Ballydown and we had about 16 people through for the first couple of days, and they had about 18 grand over asking price, which was good. And there's a lot of first time buyers out there too. So it's quite a adaptable market. So you have investors, you have first time buyers, you have second home owners, you've got people upscaling, you've got people downscaling, you've got people buying building sites. There's a strong market in agricultural land as well. So
Mhm.
there's no trend. There's no, it seems to be just overall most things are selling.
And can you see that it feels like there's a bit of like there's a lot of demand and not enough availability at the minute. Can you see that changing, or how do you see that changing over the next years?
Strange, because you would have thought with the mortgage rates rising so much last year that it would have put people off. It didn't. Now mortgage rates have started to come down, as you know, interest rates have started to come down. The budget didn't help things, but ultimately as well, with the stamp duty holiday ending, we didn't know what way it was going to go. It certainly is going to potentially hammer the investment market because of the higher levels of stamp duty they're having to do. You
Mhm.
also have a lot for the lettings side of the industry for landlords. There's a lot more regulation in. and
Mm.
there's more costs for them. So whether will they come out of the market? I have definitely seen a lot of landlords come out of the market, but more new ones go into the market. There's a great there's a great buyers really want to know, the consumers really want to know how the process works. So there's a great
Mm.
level of understanding, and what we're trying to do as property market members and as estate agents as well is try to, raise awareness to consumers of, how the entire industry works.
Yeah, and I think I'm almost fishing. We've got a 20-year-old son, and I'm almost fishing for you to give me some hope that he'll be,
Yeah,
yes, he'll be the first time buyer within 5 years.
absolutely.
Not-
It's funny because first time buyers when I started were older and, had different the ideas and plans. But first time buyers nowadays are very young. They have a lot of money in the bank as a deposit. They have a healthier lifestyle. They're planning ahead. They're looking at pensions. They're even looking at mortgage or investments as well. So it's quite interesting to see how different that trend has gone.
Good, that gives me hope. Excellent.
It is, yeah.
What would you say? What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned along your business journey?
Oh goodness me, this is an intense industry, so it is very much there's a lot of lessons. There are a lot of lessons. I think the hardest one is you've got to let it go. There's a lot of competition out there. You're
Mm.
not for everybody. You won't win all the business, but in our company, we kind of have a niche where we really only want to do as much so we can give a really good service to all those clients rather than bulk, and have too much where you really are letting the customer down.
Mm.
So it's all about, there is no this life balance sort of thing. It doesn't work. You're either going to love your job, work really hard, and the estate agency industry is 24/7. It never ends. And no matter if you're at your desk, in your car, or having your dinner, you're talking to a client. So I think, yeah, it's just to, let stuff go. Don't let it get to you. I think after a certain age, I was like, I love my clients that I have. I don't have some, that's fine, because you're
Mm.
just going to enjoy your business. You want to enjoy the process, don't you?
Yeah, it's a great share, and a lot of people struggle to cope with that rejection, but then
Mm.
they end up focusing so much on some sort of rejection that they take it out on the next person that's likely to say yes. So it is
Yeah,
counterintuitive. So it's a great
absolutely.
share. And
Yeah, that's
what about
true.
yourself, Mary Lou? What have you learned about yourself along the way?
Well, I would say I'm much more resilient. People think I'm probably a little bit soft too, I don't know what it is, but then when you're doing the deal, they're like, thank God you were handling it. So I think more resilience than I ever thought I had. And yeah, just really, I, if you're passionate about something, it's easy. And if you are trained well and you know how to work the business and you know how to deal with difficult situations, which I
Mm.
love, to be fair. When there is a tricky situation, I'll get my teeth around it and I just love resolving it. One of the things I learned very early was the criticism or an awkward customer, for instance. Don't see that as an awkward customer. I see it as a challenge. It's like if I can get you to not happy to coming back to me for the rest of your life, then that is my win.
Very good. Yes, still waters don't make great sailors.
That's very true.
And what about who's? I think I've got a bit of an idea, but tell me about who's influenced you the most along the way.
I would say my dad, definitely, because he's been a great boss. As this is a male dominated industry, you would expect him, really to be out in the golf course, networking, anything like that. But he was
Mhm.
there training us, wanting all of us in the team to learn more, to know what we were doing, to understand it, to enjoy it.
Mhm.
So probably my dad, definitely. And Joanne, my colleague, oh God love her, she had to train me when I started. I really didn't know much. And she was very clever and very at the start of her career. And yeah, so I'm really thankful because she's mentored me and she's really been she keeps me grounded when I get a little bit excited. She's like, no, let's get back to normal.
And even after all these years, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning and drives your passion for business today?
Well, I would probably say because I've probably at the age of 9, I had my first business, which was a car wash business. I called the bubble business. And going into to dad after school and lifting the phones, and I really wanted to own my own business. I
Hmm.
knew that. I got a briefcase from Santa at the age of I think 9 or 8. That's embarrassing, but I did. So I think because I own it, I was made a partner of it. That to me is everything, and I love getting out of bed for it. Also, my 3 little dogs, Cavaliers, you have to get up and feed them, so there's no option.
And what about in the unlikely event that you were on a desert island and were allowed a book to read or a podcast to listen to or both? Anything that you'd go for or recommend?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would probably say if I was on a desert island, the podcast would have to be something about surviving on that desert island. That would be the height of it, because I don't think I would survive, to be fair. And a charger, if you have it.
And any books at all? Are you a reader at all? Anything that's you'd
You know, I
recommend?
I normally never get time to read, but I've just read 2 books in 2 weeks, and it was just like peaceful. I don't know if sometimes you could binge watch a TV show and you're always on your phone at the same time, and reading the book actually, just was a complete escape, which was great. The laugh is getting me to remember the name of them. It's just ridiculous. One was Adele Parks, and it was Between Us, and then the other one was The Wrong Sister. But two like thrillers. I think probably a lot of estate agents will adapt and say you need something that's complete distraction and complete escapism. It can't be something slow and easygoing. That or true crime helps.
Oh, very good. And what about what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your business at the minute?
I would say there is a lot of competition out there with the state agency, and you have probably a little bit less people going, they would go to their same estate agent for, forever. They would probably maybe shop around. And fees, there's a lot of low fees out there, which there's no need for. I mean, we offer a level of service that people cannot do without, and you have to really justify, what you do for your business, and what you're offering your client. So I would say a little bit of, the competitiveness out there, and pricing, and maybe not the real challenge of getting consumers really grasping just what your estate agent is going to do for you. And that's what I've been challenging the Law Society with Property Mark, and the conveyancing process it is very hard, tough on, buyers and sellers on the complete process, and how, it doesn't work. And my main goal is to try and build communication levels between the entire groups and professionals. I mean, in 2018, we launched the MOU, which was then called People, Property and Professionals, which is a way to get conveyancers, estate agents, mortgage brokers, and surveyors to communicate. And if we can, so the idea is, if you're going to list your property for sale, for instance, Peter, if you're going to put your on the market, I would tell you to instruct your solicitor straight away, get your title deeds from the mortgage company, and then start the process. You could buy yourself 6 weeks early before we find you a buyer. Once we find you a buyer, your solicitor's good to go. There's a couple of searches do need to take only a couple of days. There's certain queries and a certain conveyancing time frame which will take, but that should shorten the timeline. And I think the challenge is trying to get that relationship between conveyancers and estate agents really in a respectful way to work together and understand what we all do within the process.
Sure. And how far down the road are you with that now?
Well, I mean, it's still frustrating, because there's still a lot that don't, it's same as estate agents. I mean, there's horror stories out there of what they ask the solicitor for, and phoning them up without any notice and things like that. You've got to understand people are busy and they've got lots of clients, and they have to, they can't just answer you straight away. But from the same respect, we still have a lot to do with some solicitors. I had one recently where they emailed and said, "We do not talk to estate agents. This is a dedicated email address. If you want to send any queries, we might get back to you." And that was just soul destroying, because in this day and age, it shouldn't be like that. So yeah, it's a lot of challenges, but hopefully with working with both Law Society, Property Mark, and RCS, we will hopefully get to that good balance.
And what about, let's go off piece slightly. So if you could invite any 3 people to a dinner party, who would you invite?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm fascinated by Amal Clooney, because I mean, look at what she's done in her career and what she probably comes up against, but also is fairly yeah. And then with Diane Keating, love her because I just love all her movies. And I just think she's really interesting. I love her fashion style too. I think she'd be very cool around the dinner table. And that's awful. You're going to say, why is it all women? Um, Jane Fonda, probably, you know, human activist as well and stands up for women rights and things. But obviously, I would have other men, but I'd need more time to think about it.
They could serve. Men could serve the food. I would.
Yes, potentially,
You'll be able to
yes.
do something then. What about if you could go back in time and give some advice to your 18-year-old self? What would you say?
I remember probably one of the things my dad said was, do you want to go here or do you want to go here? And I said, I want to go there. So I did. But I think in some shape or form, you do, you know, I'd probably maybe not work as hard and maybe traveled a bit before I just got into this because I'm now at the, you know, 24 years into this. I didn't travel when I was younger, like most people. So probably, probably would have just said, look, take that 6 months and go. I must admit, I was going to, and I was going to go around the rainforest and go for it. And the recession hit.
Uh,
So that was it.
was that was that which one was that? Was that
It's
the
2008.
oh right, okay.
Yeah. So that was, and I thank God we were, you know, what did they say? Estate agents, why would, what is, something like what they do in the morning? They'd look out the window in the afternoon because they couldn't do it all day or something. It was just so bad. I mean, there was nothing selling. We were lucky with rentals that kept us going, but it was just terrible for a few years.
I know it was. I remember watching a program on TV, and I think it was the area of in Europe that had the highest increase in price in Europe was Limavady or something random
Yeah.
figure like that. And you
Yeah.
sort of think, my goodness, if whenever that's happening, there's something that's that's not sustainable. Uh,
Oh, it wasn't.
but
It
it's funny,
wasn't. It really
like
wasn't.
everything recovers eventually. It's peaks
It
and
does.
troughs. So instead of looking back, let's look forward. So you've
Mhm.
recently opened the second branch. Let's look forward 5 years time. So 2030.
Mhm.
What do you think the business looks like then? What do you think the market will be like then?
It'll be, I mean, I do think it will be the same. I mean, we're definitely adapting to all the new technology that we're using, AI, you know, the new CRM systems, all the different ways to, you know, buy and sell a house. Like you've got the new systems that we have where the buyer can log their offer, you know, the vendor can see what's going on, you know, the transparency in the industry, which will be much better for my business. I just hope I'm growing and I wouldn't be a big person for a lot of branches. I don't think I've need for that because I really, as I mean it when I say it, I love what I do to an element of I want to do it well.
Mm.
And I really want to make sure that my customers are happy. But I'm loving Saintfield. It's such a really lovely community vibe. And it's nice to branch out of the village as well. And then Downpatrick has got my heart. That's where I'm from. So I'm confident and happy that that would be great, you know, because at the end of the day, you're online. You don't have to have branches everywhere. I think you just have to be able to, you know, have a great customer base and customer service and just hopefully still be in business, which would be great. It's number one thing.
What about if somebody likes what they've heard and would like to reach out and get in touch to do anything that you've mentioned today? What would be the best way for them to go about that?
So you can just check out our website, alexanderreidandfraser.com, and all meet the team. We're all there with our email addresses, mobile numbers, and get in touch. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram as well. So just any kind of social way or from our website.
Fantastic. Well, Mary Lou Press from Alexander Reid and Fraser, thank you so much for sharing your time and your story with me today. It's congratulations on for such the longevity of the business is fantastic, and I wish you every success for the remainder of this year and the future. Thanks very much, Mary Lou.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.